Welcome to the Purple Elephant Show. I am your host, Casey Phoenix, and yes, it is the weekend. The official Purple Elephant Show is here. For those who may not know, my morning political thought is a supplement to the Purple Elephant Show. The Purple Elephant Show, as I said, is mostly a weekend show. Let's get the social media out the way quickly. ThePurpleElephantShow.com, main podcasting platform. The Purple Elephant Show on Parler, Instagram, Facebook.com/The Purple Elephant Show, on Twitter at Real TPES. If you are watching this on BitChute, YouTube, or Dailymotion, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. On YouTube, in addition to the subscribe button, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you will know when I upload videos to these platforms. All right. I mentioned earlier that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in the process of releasing Hillary Clinton's emails. I also mentioned earlier that I didn't care, and I explained why. If you want to know why I didn't care, go to that episode. All right. For this, though, I mentioned in the previous episode that John Durham is investigating something else. And this is also related to Hillary Clinton, but this is different. This is different. Now, for this is also on the Washington Times. The article that I read before, I mentioned before, Washington Times was the source, and Washington Times is the source for this. So if you ever want to just read the articles for yourself, to go back over what I'm reading, totally cool. You can see for yourself. My sources clearly are legit. Now, the title of the article, Durham looking at discredited Alfa Bank, Trump claim promoted by Hillary Clinton. Report. All right, Special Investigator John Durham is looking at the origins of persistent anti-Donald Trump stories that the president's land development company maintained a secret communication link with Alfa Bank, one of Russia's largest, according to a magazine report. This is that thing about, they were saying a server, they're connecting with the server to and using that server to communicate with Russians. That BS story. John Durham is investigating that now. Is what he's doing. He's been investigating other things. Clearly, he's been investigating other things because Kevin Klein-Smith pleaded guilty to altering a document that came from the CIA as related to Carter Page. If you do not know the details of that, go to my episode talking about Kevin Klein-Smith pleading guilty. You can check it out there. I don't want to cover it here. All right. Especially the lure surrounding the supposed Alpha Trump Organization secret server took root right before the November 8th election with a story in Slate.com. Hillary Clinton pounced on the report with a tweet accusing candidate Trump of Russian collusion. Now, before I start reading some more of this, let's not forget that new declassified documents show that Hillary Clinton had already started her little, let's say, started weaving her web to say that the president, then candidate Trump, colluded with Russia, that there was some type of collusion going on, and the CIA knew that Hillary Clinton was pushing this tale. There are even handwritten notes in these declassified documents that have come out now. You can research that and find that for yourself. All right, so Hillary Clinton pounced on report tweeting The Alpha story was pushed by her opposition researcher Glenn Simpson, co-founder of Fusion GPS. We all know the Fusion GPS deal. It hired Christopher Steele with Clinton campaign and Democratic Party money. He wrote a 17-page memo dossier, which has now been discredited. I added in, has now been discredited, accusing Mr. Trump and aides of being in an extensive conspiracy with the Kremlin. As we all know, it was BS. Even when Christopher Steele was in an interrogatory in the UK, he was asked under oath, was it verifiable? And Christopher Steele said he couldn't verify it. And then we found out that Christopher Steele's source for the dossier was a Russian spy. A Russian spy the FBI already knew about, that had already tried to recruit people in President Obama's administration. But these are minor details. Let me get back to the story. All right. According to congressional testimony, Mr. Simpson tried to sell the New York Times on the Alpha narrative on October 2016. The Times story fell short of his expectations. On October 31st, it appeared in Slate. Computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert server linking the Trump organization to a Russian-based bank. And that's when Hillary Clinton had tweeted that. From a 2019 Justice Department Inspector General report, the public learned for the first time that the FBI investigated the Alpha angle and concluded in February 2017 that no such computer server existed. Let me read that again for the people in the back. From a 2019 Justice Department Inspector General report, the public learned for the first time that the FBI investigated the Alpha angle and concluded in February 2017 that no such computer server existed. All right, on with the article. Months after the FBI's private conclusion, I like the way they worded that while writing this article. Months after the FBI's private conclusion, the New Yorker's Dexter Filkins breathed new life into the Alpha theory, with the story quoting cyber experts who gave it credence. The story was promoted by Daniel Jones, a former FBI official and ex-staffer for Senator Dianne Feinstein, California Democrat. He formed an anti-Trump investigative group, the Democracy Integrity Project, and raised millions of dollars from Democratic donors. He told the FBI, according to congressional documents, Mr. Jones hired Fusion GPS. I wondered, did he funnel money like Hillary and the DNC did, or how did that work out? On Wednesday, the New Yorker published a follow-up to Filkin's story that tells of a grand jury probe by Mr. Durham. The Connecticut U.S. attorney was appointed by Attorney General William Barr to find out the origins of the FBI's long Russia election interference probe. Special counsel Robert Mueller concluded in March of 2019 that he did not establish that a conspiracy existed between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin. Russia hacked Democratic computers and conducted social media information warfare. By the way, even though this is coming out of the Washington Times, when they're talking about Russia hacked Democratic computers and concluded social media information warfare, talking about Robert Mueller's report, let's make one thing clear. When it comes to the servers were never turned over to the FBI. When the DNC said we've been hacked, the FBI asked for the servers. And then the DNC said, no, you cannot see our servers. What we will do is we'll give our servers to a third party and have them issue a report, and then you can read the report that they issue you. That is what happened. The third party was CrowdStrike. Does CrowdStrike sound familiar? Yeah. For those of you who have been following all of this, you already know how the game goes. And you already know, I've never heard of anybody tell the FBI no. But now, after all of this is happening, knock on wood, if I ever have a run-in with the FBI and they request something of mine, I'm just going to tell them no. Work for the DNC, but hey, these are minor details. Let me get back to the story. All right, the FBI probe relied heavily on the discredited dossier as evidence for court-approved wiretaps and avenues to investigate. Duh. I added the duh. Former lead FBI agent Peter Strzok has now repudiated the dossier as inaccurate and disinformation. For those who are listening to the podcast, I just rolled my eyes. Mr. Filkins wrote in the October 7th New Yorker, in recent weeks, scientists and others quoted in my story have been summoned to testify to a grand jury impaneled by John Durham. I like the way that sounds. Among others, Mr. Filkins in 2018 relied on cyber sleuths with the name Max and Tea Leaves. Some agents told scientists that they were exploring a potential criminal charge, presumably against Max and Tea Leaves, for giving false information to the government, the New Yorker article says. A number of those called to testify are seeking to quash these subpoenas, and it's not apparent that anyone has testified so far. As a parallel, Alfa Bank partners, billionaires Peter Avin, Germain Khan, and Mikhail Friedman are filing lawsuits trying to find out the identities of the people they believe cooked up the Alfa story with fake cyber addresses. In London earlier this year, they won a defamation case against Mr. Steele. He is the ex-British spy who wrote the Democratic Party finance dossier based on information from Igor Dachenko, a Russian national the U.S. suspects of being a Kremlin spy. That's the subsource I was talking about that gave the information to Christopher Steele for the dossier, which has now been debunked. And that's the spy that is also accused by the FBI of trying to recruit people in President Obama's administration, previous administration. To FBI interviewers, Mr. Dachenko has repudiated his own reporting to Mr. Steele, saying his source's information was not worth a grain of salt, according to the Justice IG report. Mr. Filkins quotes an unnamed source as saying the FBI did not do a thorough job investigating the Alfa link before closing the case. Mr. Filkins wrote of the dossier still has been criticized for sloppy tradecraft, but much of the information he recorded has been neither proved nor disproved. Republicans say that when claims such as Mr. Trump financed the hacking, his lawyer traveled to Prague to meet Russians, two campaign aides worked as liaisons with Kremlin hackers, lacked any evidence after 4 years, it falls under the category of disproved. An Alfa spokesperson responded to the New Yorker article. He told the Washington Times the lawsuits were filed to find the people the Russian bankers believe created phony cyberlinks. The spokesman said Alfa Bank brings this action to seek redress from the unknown actors who perpetrated a sustained series of highly sophisticated cyber attacks against it in 2016 and 2017. This was not just an attack on Alfa Bank, one of the few remaining privately owned banks in Russia. It was an attack on the integrity of the U.S. political process. Okay, the FBI investigated whether there were cyber links between the Trump organization and Alfa Bank and concluded by early 2017 that there were no such links. On the question of whether Alfa is coordinating with Mr. Durham's team, the spokesman said, Alfa Bank representatives contacted and voluntarily briefed the FBI and other authorities in 2017. The briefings were about investigations conducted by top U.S. cybersecurity firms that found no evidence of any communication between servers, but did find evidence that edited DNS, domain name system, data had been disseminated by an anonymous cyber group. This lawsuit is in no way related to U.S. or international politics. And that's what we have for that. So this is another thing that John Durham is now investigating. When people were talking about the secret server that obviously did not exist, the FBI concluded in 2017 no such thing existed, and Alfa Bank sued Christopher Steele for peddling this information as well in regards to Fusion GPS, and won in court their defamation suit, showing that it was further discredited. But with John Durham right now, they're talking about that there has been more than likely been a grand jury impaneled related to this. When I spoke about John Durham in my previous episode and Attorney General William Barr, again, because Bill Barr is old school, and like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I know a lot of people are frustrated, myself included. Because he's old school, he will not present 95% of the puzzle. He and John Durham want to present to everyone 100% of the puzzle, where nothing falls through the cracks, where everything is tied together. There isn't one missing piece to this puzzle. That is why I believe all of this is taking so, and because the corruption is so insidious, so nefarious, and it runs so deep. That is why I believe it's taking so long. But it's nice to know that also this is something else that John Durham is looking at in regards to Alpha Bank. And we also know that it's clear that the whole server thing has been completely discredited. He just wants to know who cooked up the scheme to begin with, and to find out if the people who cooked up the scheme to begin with are connected to anyone else in regards to all of the other schemes that were happening throughout the process of this whole Russia hoax. So, yeah, that's all I have for this episode today. Thank you to everyone again for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. ThePurpleElephantShow.com, main podcasting platform. The Purple Elephant Show on Parler, on Instagram, Facebook.com/The Purple Elephant Show, on Twitter @RealTPES. If you're watching this on BitChute, Dailymotion, or YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. On YouTube, you have to also hit the notification bell. That will let you know when I upload new videos. I appreciate all the love, all the listening, all the watching, all the support. Until next time, be blessed.